What's up, guys? Welcome back to the That's So Dev podcast. My name is Dev. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I appreciate you. We have some tea to get into. But before we get into the tea, make sure you go ahead and follow me at That's So Dev on Twitter, Instagram, and literally everywhere else. Now, y'all, speaking of the tea, I want to get into some new releases that have come out over the last maybe week or two, maybe even three, right? Because look, I have felt like the new music that has been coming out over the course of this year, it's just been like such a lackluster year of releases, which is interesting because last year was really overwhelming. And because we got so much in the time span of the first 5 months of the year, it was kind of insane how much we got. And this year, it was just kind of like, like I'm waiting for something to move the culture to come out. And I think that it has left space for newer artists to really try to submerge, or maybe artists who have lost their hype to re-submerge. And it hasn't been my favorite, but I want to go over just a few things that I feel like have stuck with me over this last year. And I'm recently, like, Katseye just released an EP, right? And it's called Beautiful Chaos, which is an accurate representation of the songs because it's beautifully chaotic in each and every song. There's so much beauty in it. There's so much versatility. There's so much energy. There's so much authenticity. There's so much substance. And, I feel like when people look at Katseye and they see how they dance and maybe they see Gnarly, they're kind of like, oh, you're a manufactured group. And, that's how I felt when they really came out with Gnarly. It was very clear to me that this was a group that they're seemingly pushing as a K-pop group. And there's been a lot of speculation about that, right? Because some people are like, okay, so they're not a K-pop group, but they're pushing them as a K-pop group because people are saying they're a K-pop group, but they're not a K-pop group, and people are like, so a pop group? And no, I feel like they've really pushed this group, and it's in the aesthetic, it's in the sound, it's in where they choose to go for their performances. Obviously we know that they are backed by a label and people behind the scenes who push K-pop groups. So that's how they push that group. And sure, we can label them just the pop group because that's how I feel now. But I feel like they were really aiming for an audience back at that time. And it was interesting to me because I'm like, this group was made for the States, essentially. I don't want to say that they're made for the States. They were really made in the States. And I feel like they really garnered a fan base here. And for a girl group, it's hard to get a fan base here. They can go internationally, they can go all over the globe. But here is the market that all of the girl groups want to break. And well, if it was easy, it would have been more than Fifth Harmony over the last decade to do so. So that's just where we are with that. And I'm just kind of like, okay, look, so what's going to be their T moving forward? Because sonically, Gnarly seems like a step back, but visually, it seemed like a step forward for what they want to be visually as a girl group, and even maturity. Because even though Gnarly lacks lyrical depth at all, it's really a talk my shit kind of song, but it's really done in an ABC 1 2 3 way that's so basic to the eye that people are kind of like, ugh, it's an ick, because put a little more into it, you know? But I think that after listening to Beautiful Chaos, it was just like, let me go through the track list because it starts off with Gnarly, and thank God we get it out the way. But Gabriella comes next, where it has this beautiful Spanish guitar to it, and just the way that the vocals align with the beat sonically. I just feel like it's a well crafted song, in the fact that they really utilize all of the nationalities of these girls and really put it into the music. It's a beautiful thing to me, and it really adds to that beautiful chaos of it all, because again, each song I feel like is different sonically. because after Gabriella, we go on a Game Boy, which it has this pop R&B type T to it that I just feel like it makes me come alive. I don't know how else to say it. I feel like it's the best song that they've ever actually created. And I don't know if they feel like that, but I know that a lot of fans do feel like that as well. And when I'm on a journey to becoming a fan of somebody, it's one of those things where, like back in the day, I use this as an example all the time. In order for me to want to buy someone's album, how I would dictate if I wanted the album, I would hear at least 2 to 3 songs before the album came out, and that's how I would decide if I was going to buy an album. And I had learned that from people who were older than me, my mother, my grandma, my aunts, my uncles. When they heard songs on the radio, oh wow, 1 month we heard this real good song from Neo. 2 to 3 months down the road, we heard another good song. Oh wow, this album's going to be good. And then you drop a third song on top of that, either before or with the album. You sold me the album. You've given me a reason to go buy that album. And that's just kind of how I've always dictated a lot of things. And I feel like that's why people have really taken on this concept of a quote unquote lead single. And so, when it came to Katseye, I heard Touch, right? That was the first thing I had heard from them. But the very first thing that I saw, they were in fairy costumes walking to, Destiny's Child, Lose My Breath. I specifically remember that. I think that was the first video I saw. Then I saw Touch came out, and I was like, oh wow, like, this is really good. Like, I like a good pop bop, you know what I mean? Nothing has to be that serious. It doesn't have to be a lyrical pool of 12,000 feet or anything, bitch. But like, have something to it. And Touch really, it was like, okay, you know what I mean? I've heard snippets of little things that they've released here and there, but Touch was something that really made me look their way. And so when it came to Gnarly, I was just kind of like, oh, well, what happened? Because, you know, I, it felt like a step back, and I had judged, right? Because that's how I've always done it. I've always judged whether or not I would like something based off of the layout of these songs. And Gnarly again felt like a step back, but what sold me on Gnarly was the visual of it, right? I'm a firm believer in I shouldn't have to require a video for a song to be sold to me, right? And it wasn't even really the video that sold it. It was the live performances and how they brought the song to life, right? So it just turned it into this feeling that I used to get, because Fifth Harmony used to have songs that were like, ABC 1 2 3, and people were kind of like, well, there's really nothing to it. But from the aspect of a dancer, it's kind of like, okay, well, I understand this from a different perspective because I am a dancer. And I think that they really capitalized on that, right? Like, I don't have to listen to Gnarly for some lyrical depth. I can listen to it because I want to get up and I want to dance and I want to feel like I'm the shit, right? So it really shifted that perspective over time. And I mean, literally like a week and a half ago was when it was kind of like, you want to know what? They sold this to me, even if I don't like the song at all. Literally, I don't like the song at all. But like, they sold it to me. They did. I catch myself saying gnarly or like doing the choreography at any point in time, literally, even if I'm in public, like iconic. And so you follow up with these two things with Game Boy, right? All I heard was 5 seconds of Game Boy. I cut that off. I said, I got to do a whole EP reaction. You sold me the EP with that third song in 5 seconds. I'm not even joking. 5 seconds, y'all. I was like, oh no. I cut everything off. I went straight to record that video, and that was a wrap. I was like, oh my goodness. You could not have picked a better song to go with that EP. And the 5 seconds that I saw, ironically, I saw only 5 girls because I knew that Laura was injured during the video, and they've incorporated her in other ways, right? I know that. And I don't know. I was like, close enough. Welcome back, Fifth Harmony. And look, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about Fifth Harmony. I don't really care what you have to say. Fifth Harmony has the success in America that all girl groups around the world want to have in this market. They actively target this market to try to get that success. So look, I would like it to be Flow. Flow's not a manufactured group. They weren't put on a competition series, and they weren't given a backing by a label that backs other groups that are already massive. So there are two different perspectives with those groups in mind. And I just feel like although I want it to happen to Flow, it's going to happen, and I don't want to misconstrue this because I want to say in a more organic way, but it's not that Katseye doesn't have inorganic kind of growth, because you look at their content, you look at the behind the scenes, you look at how they even follow in the footsteps of Fifth Harmony's Awesomeness TV and organically have been building this fandom, right? But again, they have two different platforms, right? If Flow did have that platform, I think that they would be in the same position as Cat's Eye, but they would probably have a totally different fan base and audience. And that's also just the reality. You can't hide the fact that they are also Black women who make R&B music. Like, that is not music that labels or radios are wanting to put on a platform all the time. So they often want to hide that. They want to get the music that makes people get up and dance on our surface level and all that good stuff. I'm just glad that Cat's Eye found the space in their music to create substance. I didn't just want an album of gnarlies. That would have been horrible. But, when I get to a lot of these songs, I mean, Mean Girls, beautiful song. What a beautiful song, an important song, I think, especially with the group that has a large following on social media. It's really sending this message of, I don't like how the internet is. I don't like the internet. I don't like that people are mean. I don't like the negativity that comes from it, but also at the same time, God bless you. Not only just you, but God bless you in the Mean Girls that have something to say. Because again, these are teenage girls under massive scrutiny, right? Because the reality of it is they were pushed in the K-pop direction, which garnered them an enormous amount of fans because K-pop fans are absolutely massive. And so, that's why I constantly see these viral tweets of them and all that stuff, because the K-pop fans are very passionate. And I do feel like the K-pop fans can get very nasty. I do. I've seen the real bad parts of it, and I just feel like there's got to be boundaries, and I'm glad, because I feel like this song also kind of addresses those. So love that. MIA on the EP, I absolutely love it. I think that it's like Gnarly's cousin, but they're not the same. But I do appreciate it. I gave the EP overall an 8 out of 10, to be honest. Could it grow? Possibly, but I think that an 8 out of 10 is very solid for this EP. Love that. I think that Cat's Eye really showed me something this time around, and I'm glad that they did, truly. But as for New Music Friday, look, second things first, Miley Cyrus, right? My niece just texted me in the middle of this podcast, child. Naya, I'm texting you back, girl. She's like, what do I do? Is the water boiled out? So she's cooking quinoa right now, and I'm teaching her how to make quinoa. Turn down the stove. Making quinoa is not for the weak, but it is wonderful to eat. But anyway, Miley Cyrus is Something Beautiful. What a beautiful album. And I just feel like everybody is sleeping on it. Miley Cyrus created a whole visual album, and I have been dreaming about that literally every day since Hannah Montana. And I wish that was a joke. I wanted that from her so bad. And we finally got it, and the general public is not on it. And I don't feel like it's the general public's fault. I mean, I'm just looking at how her label is doing nothing. And I mean nothing for it. Everything that she's doing, it seems like Miley Cyrus is an independent artist. That's what that's what this whole era has felt like. It felt like an independent Miley just making her own thing because the label isn't doing anything. And I'm listening to the album, right? And the album does not, and I don't want to misconstrue my words here. The album does not have any mainstream hits. And I think that that's something that the label could not get behind. Because I'm sitting here, this is Columbia that we're speaking about. And I know all about the artists who have come across Columbia and how they've had music that has resonated with them, but Columbia may not agree. So they're like, you want to know what? You know, we'll do the bare minimum still. You know what I mean? Like, you're still on the label. We'll help you out a little bit here and there and do whatever. You know, I'll give you a little money, a little something, something. But you know, we don't believe in it, so we're just gonna leave it as is. Whatever it does, it does. And that's what they do all of the time. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen with Chloe. I've seen it happen with Lauren Haregi. I've seen it happen, obviously, with Miley this time around. And I don't think they did a thing for Endless Summer Vacation either. And, you know, our whole excuse for that was that, you know, Miley Cyrus just doesn't want to do anything for this era. And that was very apparent and clear. She didn't. And the era drove itself. Miley is what sold her last album. Miley is what sold this album. Miley is what sold Plastic Hearts. So Miley just hasn't had a label who has believed in her vision enough for it to just naturally run free, because she has to play music politics in order to really get her music out there. You know, by the time an album is releasing, like this year, she's already moved on to the next. And she's constantly saying it. She doesn't want to be bound by these schedules and, again, the musical politics that people have to try to play with music. Like, if she's ready to get this music out, she wants to get this music out now. And she does not want to have to wait for marketing and all of this stuff because the label wants to capitalize on their funds. Like, you're barely giving her albums anything to begin with. Something Beautiful is a very beautiful album, but I my tea is, if you don't like Dead Pets, you're not gonna like this album. If you like Dead Pets, you're gonna like Something Beautiful. Something Beautiful is a mature Dead Pets, and I don't know if people really understand that, but it's tea. It really is. It's such an acquired taste, and I feel like you have to be somebody who appreciates vintage, because that's the whole feel of the album. It's vintage. And I don't want to say old, I just want to say vintage, because it feels like this music and the sound that she has in here was locked in, like, safekeeping away inside of a museum or something. Like, when I listen to this music, I've always thought about it, like, because we grew up listening to, you know, the Prince, the Michael Jacksons, the Diana Ross and all that stuff, spring cleaning on Sundays or whatever the case may be, when your parents was waking you up. Like, I just remember the vibes all throughout this album being some of that music that was played during my childhood. And it was just kind of a moment like, dang, like, am I getting old too? Because, like, reality is, I'm going to play this for my children. I'm going to play this in 20 and 30 years. Like, that is factual information. And it's going to be this sound that I grew up listening to, that I relay to people who are younger. So it's just kind of interesting because, you know, although music has progressed exponentially and the sounds aren't the same, music doesn't work the same. But it's just kind of interesting how that's such a full circle moment, because you'd expect the music that I'd probably, you know, it'd probably be bangers, right? I'm going to play bangers for the grands, right? but no, it's just a different vibe and a more mature vibe that I think that I personally have been able to appreciate. And, you know, Dead Pets wasn't an immediate understanding to me, right? A lot of the songs, yes, immediately. Probably about 5 or 6 songs, but it took me about 2 to 3 years to process what that album was and process how I could appreciate it. And I think that coming off of Bangers, I just feel like that Miley had a lot of mature feelings with this album, the album being Dead Pets, that I don't think that I had been able to experience, or I had not been able to process a lot of the emotions that she was speaking about, so I wasn't able to connect to it. But thank God for therapy, bitch, right? But people are totally sleeping on this Miley Cyrus album. I uh, I don't care. It's for me. It's for me. It may not be for the streets, but it's for me. Now, this next artist, y'all, Jade. I don't know if you know who Jade is, but Jade is from Little Mix. Little Mix is a girl group from the UK that was massive out there. There are four members. There are currently three. One has left the group, just like Fifth Harmony and One Direction. What else is new? That is just how things seem to go these days. Anywho, so Jade has an album coming out called That's Just Showbiz, Baby. And she has 6 of 14 tracks out, and 6 of those songs are bangers and bops, and she has not missed yet on a 14-track album. Miss Jade, phenomenal, wonderful. In her recent release this week, Plastic Box, whoa, my goodness. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun listening to it. And all of these songs, they sound so incredibly different but also cohesive, and they're really talking about a story all the way through, especially starting with Angel of My Dreams, where it's really addressing her, it's addressing everything up until she hits the point of her solo career. That's what that song feels like to me. It just feels like a big conclusion to the questions that a lot of people have wanted to know in regards to the industry and also their journey. But like, that journey also mirrors Fifth Harmony's and also One Direction because of Simon Cowell. And you know, the label, Epic and Psycho Seco, whatever you want to fucking call it. Yes, the very nastiness tease that came with that. Anywho, I appreciate Jade, and I think that you should give that a listen. I recommend Fantasy in Plastic Box to start off with if you want a recommendation. Love that. Now, I have another artist, and I've just been so obsessed with her. Her name is Flower of Love. Flower OV Love. And she has this song called New Friends out. And she also has this other song called I've Seen Your Ex. Both of those songs are phenomenal. And it's like, I'm not calling her weird, but like, I feel like we're all weird. If you're creative, I feel like you have to be weird. And I love Black artists who are weird. Like, they just come up with things that I feel like other people are too afraid of. And a lot of times because they're in a box. And I feel like she steps so far out of the box that when people say that you're making white people music, I feel like you stepped so far out of the box that you should be proud, because you are making music that other people are afraid to, that people don't know us to make. Like, I love seeing the Black rock stars. I love seeing Black pop stars. I love seeing everything in between, because we can do anything, and we've started a lot of this shit, majority of it, if you want to keep it a buck. But that requires you to minimize your level of ignorance to understand what a bitch is saying. Look, all I'm saying is that girl has it. She's been opening for Halsey. She's opening for Olivia right now. And I'm telling you, she is going to be something big. Keep your eye out for her, and definitely just tune into those songs at least once. I've Seen Your Ex, stream it 2 times in a row. And I'm telling you, that shit's going to hit for you. Phenomenal. I love that for her. Now, look, I have to get into something too, because this isn't new. This came out in 2019. But the Sisters theme song, what is her name? Shizzy Stevens. She sings the Looking for Love theme song by Tyler Perry Sisters, and it is so good. I cannot stop. I'm not joking. I can't stop streaming the song. It's literally so good. Anywho, but look, I don't that's really all I have to talk about in regards to this new music Friday this week. That's really on my mind. I don't have too many other people as of right now that I feel like I'm super excited about in regards to who is going to be releasing, like, over the next month or two. I, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the times when new releases come, I find out maybe Saturday or Sunday who released what, like, and I'm always in the know of music, but just the way that the music industry is kind of moving, especially with releases and a lot of these artists, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, We were so overwhelmed with music last year. I hope that we would get, solid releases this year, but maybe just in a more relaxed type space. I didn't think we wouldn't be getting anything at all. And it seems to be all or nothing with the industry. And it's almost like they shoot themselves in the foot. But we'll see how that goes. It is what it is. I can't change that. But, what I can change is who I choose to stream in this moment. And as of right now, and I'm definitely streaming a lot of Miley and Flower of Love and Katseye. Those are just the top new releases that have been at the top of my coffee, rising to the top like Kareem bitch. Anywho, but I appreciate y'all. I do appreciate you. Thank you so much for streaming the That's So Deaf podcast. We stay true and stay you. I have not been feeling well over the past week. I've been so busy. Came home from LA and then end up getting sick. So I had to take about a week or so off just to get my mental well-being going, get my body back where it needs to be, and also rebalance myself. Okay, because burnout is real and I'm not trying to get to that point. So I'm going to take my rest where I can. I appreciate you and I appreciate your patience, guys. It has been a wonderful time over the last year, just with these new experiences, these new opportunities, and I'm taking advantage every chance that I get. Okay? Now, I'm hopping off here. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for streaming the That's So Dev podcast, where you stay true and stay you. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at That's So Dev on Twitter, Instagram, and literally everywhere else. Okay, y'all? I appreciate you. I'm hopping off here, and I will see you on the next podcast. Peace.